Down by 2, now they're out of timeouts.
Down by 2, 1.3 left. Down 2, gets a shot off.
Down by 2.
Hello. Hi. Welcome. This is the Down by 2 podcast with your host, Jesse McKay, aka Birdman, or That Good Kid. Now you might be wondering to yourself, why the fuck is this guy introing the show? Well, our dear friend Josh Elijah, he's feeling a little down.
I'm a little sicky poo today.
Ooh, he's feeling sick. My co-host Josh, I love you so much. Thanks for hopping on. Glad you could make it. I would hope you would be here because we do this show together.
Hi, hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Anyways, I'm happy to be here. This is the Down by 2 podcast, and brought to you by Crier Media. Go scan that code right there, and it'll take you to the website where you can look at all these cool articles that my co-host wrote. They're really, really good.
Absolutely.
What's the next one, pal? Indestructible. Hey, listen,
You know it.
that's where I work. Okay, you can scan that code. You can get 15% off your order.
Buddy,
get whatever you want, I guess.
Incredible. That was awesome. That was 10 out of 10. I'm
really not prepared.
I honestly, if I had the energy, I would have helped out with that, but this is my flu game.
No, you know what? I'm happy that you're able to hop on and do this with me, you know?
Buddy, I
pleasure.
appreciate it too. I mean, it's been a week of just trying to rebound. I'm on all of the drugs. I am.
You're doing great, sweetie.
I've got the lemon, I got the ginger, I got the turmeric, I got the apple cider vinegar, and then I got like the heavy duty shit. Like I got the boom, the Benylin. So fucking
the boom, the Benylin.
the boom, the Benylin.
That's a cool song. I like that. Sick,
So
man. Sounds like you're making stomach curry there with all that turmeric and ginger and all these other things.
A lot of soup. Man, but it's we couldn't cancel this one. Usually if we're under the weather, then we're under the weather and we just call it a week.
It is what it is, right?
We cannot.
Yeah,
we cannot this episode because it is a very special edition, Grey Cup 110 edition for the Down by 2 podcast. And not only the Down by 2 podcast, but it's also a very special edition of the show because it is a collaboration with Crier Media's own Griff from YWC Football Talk. The boy, the man himself, Griff, my man. Thank you. This is great. We've been talking about doing a collab episode for quite some time, and it's we have to truck through it here. We got a big week ahead of us here, and man, how stoked are you to be going down to the Hammer and covering the Grey Cup this week?
It may be a boulevard of broken dreams for one team, but for the three of us, it definitely will not be. It will not be.
He went
first
there.
Grey Cup.
I have a queasy stomach. I might throw up. You've been sitting on that one all week, haven't you? That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh man, dude, I'm so pumped for the halftime show.
Oh,
man.
like
I mean, so Blue Bombers, Alouettes. It's gonna be it's gonna be incredible. But I mean, halftime Green Day. That's like kind of been like a bucket list band for me to see.
I've never seen that band.
I haven't either, man. Yeah. Have you seen them, Griff?
No, but I know they're one of my dad's favorite bands. His favorite song of all time is recorded by them, but I doubt they play that specific song, which is "Good Riddance, Time of Your Life" on Sunday.
Oh wow!
Definitely though, if they don't open, I'll say this: you have to open with "American Idiot," almost, don't you? I feel like that's just the
because it's the CFL. You know, it's like kind of tongue in cheek.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Also a song to get people in, like like Will Ferrell and Blades of Glory gets the people going. Like,
yeah.
Unless Holiday, like I'm thinking of the American Idiot album. Like, what could you open with? And that's where all like the rock and roll bangers come from, not like the slower stuff, like the boom, like get the people going right into it.
And you got to think like they're probably going to play for what 10 minutes, 15 minutes, like if that. So that you gotta come in hot and you got to keep the energy going, right? So they're probably going to play like 6-7 songs max, and they're just going to be like the best snippets of those songs. So
Right. I mean, when you look at any halftime show, like whether or not it's been Grey Cup, like when you have, or if it's NFL as well, with the Super Bowl, they find like there's just all those clippets, and that's how Rihanna can jam in 20 different tracks into 10 minutes.
Exactly, all of the bangers get thrown in there.
If we get an interview with Green Day, I mean, that would be fucking phenomenal.
I'm gonna retire. Yeah.
I hit my peak.
Oh,
There's
man.
nowhere else to go from here.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's kind of break down what our weekend looks like. And for anyone that's watching this and going to be coming down and saying, hey, making the trip down to the Hamilton, there's a lot of different locations that we're going to be at. This episode specifically is going to be sponsored by our good old friends at Clifford Brewing. Sorry for one episode. We love you.
It's okay.
But
I'm
Clifford
still repping.
Brewing. You're still repping. You're still repping. Clifford Brewing. This is a great brewery, and it's something that we like to do whenever we go out of town as well, to cover anything out of town and just be able to support local, like what we've done with Something in the Water. Great spot for you to go have yourself a pint before the Argos game as well. But Clifford Brewing is a great brewery just outside of where the stadium is. Isn't that right, Griff?
Yeah, about a 10-minute drive away from Tim Horton's field.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing a lot of coverage there, and just filming some content. They got some great beer. For whatever reason, whenever I fly out of Hamilton, this is a brewery that I always kind of stop at and have a pint there. And then before I hit the flight, have you guys ever flown out of Hamilton before?
No, you kind of caught me off guard when you just said that. I was like, where did you go?
Griff, have you? I've flown out to Scotia a few times from there. The flights can actually be really cheap. Have you flown out of there?
I've only flown out of 3 airports in my life. That's Pearson, that's Billy Bishop, and then Buffalo. Those are the 3.
Fair enough. Well, this is probably the shittiest out of all of them. It's worse than any of the ones that you just mentioned.
It's not even had one.
It's not even an airport. It is more of a bus station.
It's somebody's like driveway.
It's kind of like that, and it's just like, instead of like, you think it's a guy doing security, and it's just he asks you to empty your pockets, and it turns out it's just a homeless guy asking for change. So, but yeah, we have a action-packed episode here. We are able to sit down not only with TSN's Milt Stegall, but also TSN's James Duthie as well. So here it is. This is our Grey Cup edition for the Down by 2 podcast with YWC Football Talk. Cheers. All right, let's just jump into it. Really stoked to bring this next guest back onto the show for a second time. You know him as a CFL Hall of Famer, household name, former wide receiver for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. It's Milt Stegall, my man. Good to see you again. Thank you so much for jumping back on. Really do appreciate it. I know this week is super busy, so I do appreciate your time.
Oh, thanks for having me on, man. It's a busy week, but it's a fun week.
Oh man, yeah, we're gonna get right into it. I'm interested to chat about the matchup, but just even going back to you and your career. I mean, you've been to the Grey Cup twice. This is obviously a crazy week of festivities. And we got the Blue Bombers that are in it for the 4th year in a row, I believe it is. Fourth year in a row, trying to get their 3rd chip out of those 4 tries. And then you have teams like the Montreal Alouettes who haven't been to the Grey Cup over the last decade. So as a player, what is your mentality going into this week? Especially, the entire season is leading up to this. So what really changes come Grey Cup week here?
Well, you always hear people say, you have to approach it just like every other game, but it's not every other game.
It's not.
There's no next week. There's no, we have time to figure it out. This is it. So you have to have a different approach, not approach as far as your preparation, but understanding how impactful this game could be and how impactful this game is. So understand that, I got to go out there. There's no, stepping on eggshells. There's no not allowing myself to go out there and give it my all, because as you mentioned, this is it. You did all this to get here to this point, all season, and you don't want to look back on it and say, man, I wish I would have did this differently. So just understand that you got to just go out there and let it go and hopefully the chips fall in your direction.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, I mean, you've been to the show before. For me, this will be my first Grey Cup experience, and this will be our first Grey Cup experience as a network being able to cover it as well. Tell us a little bit about your first trip to the Grey Cup.
Yeah, and it was different than the second one. That first one, I had tunnel vision. My wife, she was my fiance. She came up. My mother came up. And my sister came up, and I had a couple other buddies come up. But I told them I'll see them after the game. I didn't enjoy
Yeah.
none of the festivities. It was all about the game. And then that second one, I realized, hey, you got to enjoy these moments. You don't know when you're going to get this
Exactly.
opportunity again. Yes, you want to make sure you're focused on the game, but a couple of days before the game, you can start doing that. Enjoy the moments. Then I had my oldest son was 3. So my wife, my son, some of my good buddies, my mother. We all had a great time. Yes, I didn't win the game, but we had some moments that we enjoyed leading up to the game. So that's advice I would give. Yes,
Yeah.
enjoy the moments, but when it's time to focus on the game, focus on the game.
Now, obviously, going into this weekend, we got the Winnipeg Blue Bombers against the Montreal Alouettes. A lot of people are shocked that this is the matchup that we're actually getting. I think I got a hunch which direction you're kind of leaning towards here. Hey, you gotta be feeling good if you're a Blue Bombers fan right now. But they are favored by a touchdown going into this matchup. Do the Alouettes really have much of a chance? I mean, a touchdown is a touchdown. Do they have a chance to make it close? And I mean, the game against the Argos, that was a complete upset that took everyone by surprise. So, is it really that much of a landslide in Winnipeg's favor here?
No, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. We saw that last week. Toronto was a 10.5-point favorite over Montreal, but they found a way to win. This team is the hottest team in the CFL. They've won 7 games in a row. And a lot of people are saying, well, they didn't beat anybody. Well, they beat Toronto last week, who were 16-2. So they have beat somebody. But the fact that Winnipeg is a 7-point favorite, I'm not going to say that. I understand they should be the favorite, but 7 points with the way Montreal is playing right now, and it's been unorthodox the way they've won. It's been, some special teams, defense, sprinkle a little offense in there, but they're finding ways to win. So I would say Winnipeg is the favorite, but if these Montreal Alouettes found a way to win this game, it shouldn't be that much of a shock because they're playing some good team ball. They have some individuals who are really playing well right now.
Well, it's that stingy defense, like you mentioned. I mean, like making Toronto turn it over the way that they did, and Chad Kelly just always having him under pressure there. I mean, it was a defensive showcase, and it was stingy, and that led to a lot of points on turnovers. So, do you expect that to potentially be the case, or are we just going to see a lot of back and forth with really good defense coming from both sides here? Because, I mean, if Montreal does stand a chance, they're going to want to have to turn the ball over just like they did against the Toronto Argonauts.
Yeah, if they want to have an opportunity to win this game, they got to keep it close because when they keep it close, they're still able to implement their short passing game and their running attack with Williams staying back. If it gets out of hand, if it becomes a situation where Cody Fajardo has to drop back and try to make some big plays, that hasn't been their formula for success. They have to keep it close. And they rely on what I call NOTS. NOTS is an acronym for non-offensive touchdowns. They led the league during the regular season. They had 2 in their previous playoff game against Toronto. If they can get 1 or 2 of those, they have an opportunity to win this game. So that is their formula for success. But as I alluded to, they can't rely on a shootout with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and think they'll have an opportunity to win this game.
Yeah, because the offense will definitely just be able to double down on that. I mean, looking at the over here, it's 47.5. Do you expect this to be just a low-scoring defensive matchup, or given that, like if they're going to have to keep up with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and their offense, is this going to be a high-scoring affair?
I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. We know Winnipeg can score. We know they rely on their running game. That's their bread and butter. But we know Zach can light it up, and I think Montreal's going to have to find a way to keep up with them. Is it going to be offense? Is it going to be special teams? Is it going to be that defense? Maybe not scoring, but maybe creating some turnovers with that offense to score easier. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Montreal is going to have to match Winnipeg, and I think they're going to find a way to do it. So I'm thinking 50 to 55 total points in this game.
Damn. I mean, I would love to see that. I would love to see that. 50 to 55. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna have to hammer that over then. I mean, yeah, for our first Grey Cup, that'd be a fantastic final right there. One more time, Milt Stegall, thank you so much for jumping on the show. You're in Hamilton right now. So I mean, we're gonna be heading down for the weekend as well. But hey, you know the Hammer maybe a little bit better than we do. I have to go down for what it's worth, but you played there. So I mean, you're gonna have to show us where to go when we're in town.
Yeah, I'll try to, but the main thing is just to hang downtown. We're on King Street. That's the main strip. There's a lot of restaurants and places to hang out there, all the hotels. So once you get in town, just follow the crowd. They'll show you around the Hammer where to go. There's a lot of nice places here. Great city to host a Grey Cup. So each and every day you see more people coming in. The festivities starting to kick up. Like I said, I've been here since Sunday, so it was dead, but each and every day is starting to get more lively.
Starting to ramp up.
So, and actually, tomorrow we're going to Niagara Falls. We're going to do some hits from Niagara Falls, and then Thursday the player awards of Niagara Falls. So we'll be there a couple of days, and we'll be back on Friday.
Beauty. That's amazing.
Yep.
Now, you're talking about the city ramping up here. Have you seen a lot of Winnipeg fans making their way down? Can you expect a big Blue Bomber presence in the Hammer? I mean, because they travel pretty well.
They're going to be here. They're slowly starting to trickle in. I've seen a few, but starting tomorrow and Thursday, they're going to be in full force. A couple of years ago when the Grey Cup was here, there were a lot of fans here, a lot of my good people from the wonderful city of Winnipeg, the wonderful best province in Canada, Manitoba. So they're going to be here. There are going to be some good Montreal fans here too, but no one travel like those Winnipeg Blue Bomber fans. No other fans travel like they do.
I don't doubt it for a second. Milt, thank you so much for jumping on the show. Appreciate it. And see you down in the Hammer.
All right, take care. Hopefully I'll see you guys. Maybe I can come on. We'll do some stuff there then.
Yeah. Oh, man, that would be great. Love it.
All right, man. We'll talk then. Have a good one.
Take care. All right, we're here with James Duthie. James, my man, thank you so much for jumping on the show again. Great to have you back on. How have you been? How's everything going over on your end?
Everything's great. Thanks, boys. Thanks for having me back. It's a little bit of a crazy time. Grey Cup week is always wild just because there's also Hall of Fame week, which is another thing I do. And so it's I just kind of been bouncing back and forth across the country with hockey and football, but I'm not complaining. I love it. Grey Cup week's one of my favorite weeks of the year, and you throw in all the hockey, and Hall of Fame night's one of my favorite nights of the year. So it's been a super fun week.
Well, absolutely. I mean, for us, this is the first time that we have a chance to go down to Grey Cup, and we're also very excited to do it. But Jesse, you and I were chatting about this too, and it being our first experience.
Yeah, I can speak for all of us and just say that like how stoked we are to do this, and we would love to get some insight from a seasoned vet who's been doing this. You know exactly what's coming. What can a couple of guys like us expect this weekend? What are some of the highlights? Even like some cool things about Hamilton. Like I've never been to Hamilton personally, which is kind of funny. I live in Toronto, but
no way.
That's
crazy.
I've only been basically for football too, I think. But
yeah.
I can't be your Hamilton tour guide because I don't know anything.
James, that's what I was looking forward to.
I know 2 years ago we found a really good strip of restaurants on like the night before the Grey Cup, which was really fun. Mm-hmm. And the Richard Nurse, from the Nurse family, all the nurses, the amazing nurses, was there and like bought me copious drinks. So thank you, Richard Nurse. But Grey Cup week is. Trying to think what this will be for me. Like I did it for a bunch of years when I first started the TSN. You guys would probably be too young to remember. And then I got the hockey gig and I started just doing hockey, and then went back, and this will be my 9th year, I think, of being back doing it.
Nice.
And I'm fortunate enough to do the Super Bowl as well. And I always say I prefer Grey Cup week to Super Bowl week, which a lot of people go, what? But there's just something so Canadian and homey about it. You know what I mean? Like if you I go to the convention center and go to like every team usually has like a party, like the Spirit of Edmonton and the Atlantic Schooners have a party, even though they've been trying to get a team for 15 years, they still come every year and have a party.
No way.
It's just, it's just very Canadian is my best way to put it. You know what I mean? There's no glitz and glamour. like you'd get at the Super Bowl parties.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of really good Canadians and passionate CFL fans having beers, and it's a spectacular time. I don't indulge as much as I used to because once it gets to the weekend, we kind of get ready to do a 6-hour pregame show, but man, it's fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, for us, we've been covering the Argos all year, large in part due to our beat writer Griff. Griff, this is not the matchup that we were looking for, was it, Griff?
No, it was not. Saturday was supposed to be a day of celebration, but it quickly turned into a day of mourning for the double blue. But since James is playing hockey,
Griff, shocking.
It honestly was. It was just from the. I don't think Chad Kelly ever recovered from the first pick six, and then from there it was just trying to do too much to make up for it. We've seen it with the Leafs a lot, kind of like where it's like, they get out like you're trying to make up for lost time. The Argos was the same thing. I even said this to someone in the press box Saturday, that there's a team in blue down the street that's supposed to disappoint me. Meanwhile, this team all year long, it's been just celebration after celebration. I didn't know how to handle the press conference just because every single Dinwiddie press conference I've been a part of has been wins. Like every single one at BMO Field, and I did the 2 games in Hamilton as well this year. But with you bringing in hockey, I want to ask this question to you. With the Montreal Alouettes, because I've been starting to say this week, I'm getting a real Florida Panther vibe from them from last year's playoff run. Do you feel the same way as I do with the Alouettes?
Yeah, I think that's a really valid comparison. And it's funny. I try not to get influenced by. I shouldn't get influenced by interviews, but I do. And Wednesday's the day we do all the interviews. I sit down with the 2 coaches for 20 minutes, and Matt Dunnigan sits down with the 2 quarterbacks, and I kind of sit and listen to those. And there's everything statistically, everything in my body says that Winnipeg's going to win this game handily. But then you sit down and talk to Jason Moss about this team, and he's so emotional and so pumped, and you start talking to the players, and I think it was Sankey who said maybe September 21st in their game that we're not going to lose again and we're going to win the Grey Cup, and they've won 7 in a row, and you start to go, maybe this is one of those crazy, goofy team of destiny type things. I still don't think so, because I don't think they'll be able to move the ball. I don't think they'll get 9 turnovers or whatever it was. Yeah. But there's something special going on there. There really is. And it does seem like a team that, I think sometimes teams make it to the Grey Cup when they're not supposed to, and they don't really believe they're probably going to win. I don't know if Montreal's going to win. They might lose 30-3, but I truly believe that they think they're going to win. And that they're not just saying that, like that they really actually think they're going to win. And that's kind of half the battle, right? It's fascinating what they've done there culture-wise.
Well, this is a squad that hasn't made the Grey Cup in over a decade, whereas you're looking at the Blue Bombers that this is their 4th trip in a row, looking for their 3rd chip in 4 tries. And the spread right now, we're looking at the Bombers being favored by a touchdown. Do you foresee the Alouettes and their stingy defense being able to make it that close of a game, or are you still leaning more on the side of it being a complete blowout?
I don't gamble much because I suck at it. I would probably.
Well, I'm not asking you to place wagers. I just want to know, are they covering?
No, I mean, I would if you told me I had to put down, big money,
sure,
and I had to go one way or the other, I would go to Winnipeg to cover the spread, because I still think that's the more likely thing to happen here is a Winnipeg blowout over a Montreal win in my mind. Mm-hmm. But I still don't, that Montreal D, it has kind of like I don't know, like Baltimore Ravens back when they won that Super Bowl kind of feel to it, where like they look almost like they don't feel like you're ever going to gain yards against them. But I just don't think the offense can do the offense in 2 games has 2 field goals, against the Bombers. And there was nothing from that East final except maybe that they had one really good drive when after Toronto had scored late, maybe 5-6 minutes left. That was a really good drive. But besides that, there was really nothing from the Montreal O in that game that made you think that, they'd be a powerhouse in the Grey Cup. So I just think that the Bombers won't turn the ball over. even if they played, their offense plays kind of like it did against BC, where they're efficient, not spectacular. I think that should be enough because I don't think Montreal is going to move the ball. But again, there might be an it factor with the Owls that I hope so. I hope it's. I'm not hoping for. I don't care who wins. Anybody at TSN, all we care about is a good game that people continue to watch. Blowouts are the worst possible thing that can happen to us.
Mm-hmm.
I hope Montreal sticks around. I really do. I have a little bit of a fear that it could be like a 27-10 Bombers kind of game.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, it's. I just don't know if the Alouettes have that offensive power to be able to match up, punch for punch when it comes to the Blue Bombers as well. And so they're going to need to put points on the board off of turnovers. And
they're probably going to need 2 more defensive touchdowns, like against Toronto, right?
A couple pick sixes. I mean, and you're gonna. And I just feel like the Winnipeg Blue Bombers might be a little bit more careful when it comes to that. Do you agree, Griff?
I completely agree with that because unlike Chad Kelly, who even throughout the year, 16-2, he's had some very questionable interceptions throughout the year. Coach Dinwiddie will be the first one to point that out to you. Zach Collaros is not as careless with the football. So I feel like in order to do this, in order to win, we're going to have to see a day from Cody Fajardo. Because look, if you keep Fajardo in the pocket, you're going to beat them no problem. You let Fajardo get loose on his legs, that's where Montreal can really make their noise. The big question with this, too, is can Winnipeg's receivers be healthy for this game? I know they were banged up last week, and they didn't. Dalton, the big guy, he didn't play. But when you have Brady Oliveira back there, all bets are off the table. He's just been an animal all year long. He's been one of the best Canadians, let alone CFL players in the league. And I completely agree with what James said. I feel like Sunday going into this game, you're looking for not only a good game, but a compelling story, kind of like what you've seen throughout this year in sports, whether it be the Vegas Golden Knights, or the most infamous one, which I know James was at, I know I was at as well, but that was the Canadian Open back in June. So we'll see if we get another true, let's call it TSN turning point because James Duthie's here from TSN. Why not? We'll get.
That's
what we're looking for.
Griff, that's copyrighted. You owe me like $400 just for saying that.
Well, you know what?
400's a discount.
I'll email you my email for your transfer. How about that?
I got a question for you guys. So you guys are all in your 20s?
30s? I fucking wish. I just turned 34.
Okay. Well,
like a month before I turned 30. So
you kind of still miss like the true dynasty eras in sports, right? Like the the 80s Oilers in the CFL, what was it, 82 there, the end of the Edmonton football team's run, and the Islanders and so on and so forth. Do you think if the Bombers win and they've won 3 and 4 years, does that qualify as a dynasty in your minds?
Absolutely. I definitely agree. And I'm pretty sure that the New England Patriot fan up in the left corner there would definitely agree with that as well.
Yeah, it's just funny. We were talking about it last night, and some guys were saying it's debatable. But in my mind, like the definition of a dynasty, like I think in the old days, you kind of had to win 4 in a row or 4 in 5 years, like the Niners, the Oilers, the Islanders, whatever. I think in salary cap worlds that 3,
it's tough.
3 and 4, 3 and 5 years is like there's no doubt the Patriots are a dynasty. I think Golden State's a dynasty, even though it's like 4 and 7 or whatever it is. Yeah. But I think 3 and 4 years in the Canadian Football League is 100% a dynasty, and I will use that term liberally if they win this game. I was just curious what you guys thought.
Well, I would definitely say that is. I mean, especially because they've been 4 times in a row, and winning 3 of those 4 times, if they happen to pull that off, then yes, I would give them a dynasty. I think 2 out of 3. Would be not you can't give it to 2, but if you put 3 out of 4, then I would give
Calgary went to 3 in a row and they won 2 in whatever 5 years. Ottawa went to 3 out of 4 years, but they only won 1. Those aren't in close. But I think 3 is that magic number.
Absolutely.
3 and 4 years or 5 years nowadays, where I think it used to be 4 or 5.
It's like it's like how the Chicago Blackhawks. Yes, everyone calls them a dynasty because of the 3. I don't think you would call the LA Kings 10 years ago when they won their 2 and 3 a dynasty. So I'm going to say yes. I do agree that this makes the Blue Bombers a dynasty, not only because of the 3 and 4 years, but the fact that it's been 4 straight trips, and also too for Mike O'Shea can really solidify himself as a true CFL head coaching great. He's already up there, but I don't know how many coaches have won more than 3 or more Grey Cups, but I have to imagine it's a pretty exclusive list.
Mhm.
But when I look at the Montreal side of things, like how James was saying with Jason Moss, I asked him last Saturday, you're 11-7, but the 7 came against BC, Toronto, and Winnipeg. But he said, you know what? We don't care about that. That's outside noise. So I feel like he has that riled up. I just wanted to point that out too. But yeah, I think the Blue Bombers win Sunday. It's a dynasty. Will we see Zach Collaros with a Chris Streveler celebration next week if they do win? That remains to be seen.
A couple of things, like Zach Collaros, I was just thinking today, like, just think about 4 years ago, how he came to Winnipeg. Like, it was an afterthought. It was like a Hail Mary. He was traded twice in the same year. Everybody thought he was done. I can remember hearing about the trade and going, oh man, they're really desperate now. This guy who didn't play in Toronto because of concussions, and now they're going to bring him in down the stretch. And now he's like, he might get a statue there before he's done, which is remarkable. Yeah. And we got some cool stuff this weekend, like sitting down with Moss. So the coolest thing I got out of Jason Moss, and I was tipped off to this by somebody else. So when he was the Argos quarterback coach, his first job in coaching in 2012, he slept in his truck for 3 years outside their practice facility, which was at Downsview. Like, he lived in his
way.
Now, this is not like a homeless story. He was just being cheap, essentially, and didn't want to spend money on an apartment. He said he had a place that he would go to once in a while, but I'm not sure he did. So he had a Yukon, and he slept in the Yukon, showered in the facility for 3 years. And so we talk about that in the interview, and I just find it like mind-boggling, really.
Wow.
But that's how he lived.
That is crazy. That
Football
is crazy.
guy.
My goodness. One more time, James Duthie joining us on the show. Really do appreciate it. Before you go, are you really excited for the halftime show with Green Day? How does that stack up to some of the other halftime shows that we've had in the past?
Like, I had Green Day CDs when there were CDs. So I might, like, I don't know. I would probably be more excited maybe like 15 years ago.
Sure. Yeah.
And then, you know what? I think CFL's done a great job actually with acts it's gotten way better, right? Yeah. And so I think they'll probably put on an awesome show if they play their hits. So I have no problem with it whatsoever, but I'm not excited as I have been for some of the ones they've had.
I'm not putting it up there with Hip and Shania, but like, Green Day's going to be a good time in the Hammer.
Yeah, exactly. So they'll put on a good show. It'll be a time. And I think, I found out today at the last second that Shaggy's at the awards.
I saw that too. And we're going to be missing Carrie Underwood on Friday, but we'll be coming in hot on Saturday for the rest of the festivities. Hope to see you down there, James. Thanks so much for jumping.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Please, let's if we run into each other at one of those festivities, let's have a beer.
Let's do it. Absolutely. Cheers.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Have fun.
And YWC Football Talk, we had Milt Stegall, former wide receiver and Hall of Famer from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and now TSN football analyst as well, followed by the legendary James Duthie being able to jump on there as well. Caught us off guard when we were kind of recording everything off the top, but was able to squeeze them on, and it's always a pleasure to have those gentlemen on the show. Lots to break down, lots to talk about, but we got to get into what our best bets are going to be for this weekend, because that's the way that we close off this show. It's DB2 Bets, brought to you by our good old friends over at Bodog. Visit Bodog by clicking the link in the bio, clicking the link in the description, or scanning that QR code that you see there, and you'll be able to get a 100% sign-up bonus for every dollar that you put in. So, for example, you throw in $20, we're going to give you another $20. We double down on you because we believe in your bets, and more so in your bets than we do with our own. That being said, we're going to jump into our bets for this weekend. And we've been back and forth about this, going back to even our discussion that we had with Milt. Milt was predicting a 55-50 total.
100 points.
100 points. So that's outrageous. I mean, like, I love it. I hope so. I hope we're wrong on this, but to put up to put up 50 points between both teams it might be a lot for this, especially just with how great Montreal's defense has been. So Griff, break down for me, what are we going to roll with here when it comes to the spread?
With the spread, I've saying this before. You kind of heard me say it with James Duthie, but Montreal plus 8.5. I know he's saying that he thinks picking Blue Bombers against the spread is a safe bet. I'm thinking the opposite. Why? Because this is a team that just beat the best team in the league as a 10.5 point underdog. Now, why do I say this? Winnipeg was the team that was expected to get there. Winnipeg, this was, hey, we're supposed to be in the Grey Cup. No one had Montreal going to the Grey Cup, except Chris O'Leary from the CFL. Shout out to him. Go on CFL's Instagram for picks. But with Montreal, this is a team with nothing to lose. They're playing with house money. They have the belief that they're going to win. And when you have a team with their backs against the wall with nothing to lose, in the CFL, it's just who's hot at the right time. And Montreal has not lost a game in 2 months. So that's why Alouettes plus 8.5. Plus, I'm going to say this. I know everyone's saying, they're worried about this. The Montreal defense and the Winnipeg defense, I think, are going to do good jobs at shutting down the quarterbacks. And also another reason why I like this them to cover the spread as well, and even another bet we'll get into in a second, because I don't think Montreal is going to get 2 defensive touchdowns in this game as well.
Right. I think Winnipeg is definitely going to battle plan for what they saw at BMO Field. They're going to see how they pressured Chad Kelly and was able to get all those points off of turnovers. It's insane to think that that they're going to come out gunning the same way that Toronto did, especially because it's just going to expose them so much more. I really don't think that they're going to be able to cover this whole touchdown, even though, the Bombers did cover against the Lions, did they not?
They did, but the Bombers have been good against the Lions all year, even though their only loss at home was to thing. But here's the other thing, too. They got a special teams touchdown in that game as well. So, and Jason Moss said this best in his post-game presser Saturday. Whoever plays all 3 facets of the football game well is a team that's going to win. That happened last Saturday in both games, and that's what's going to happen this Sunday. If you can win on offense and defense, and that little thing called special teams, that's the team that's going to be hoisting the Grey Cup. And like we were saying too, Winnipeg's on their way to a dynasty, but Montreal's a team that hasn't won the Grey Cup since either 2009 or 2010, one of the two. So it's been a while for them.
Yeah.
And for all
if it's been over a decade, we've forgotten about it.
Exactly. But the only one we haven't forgotten about, though, is the Ticats, who last won in 1999. But fun fact, when Winnipeg won in 2019, their first one, that was their first one in 29 years. So
that's gotta hurt. Just keep on hosting the Grey Cup and then not actually being
exactly.
in it. TAFE.
Oh
one thing that definitely can factor into this weekend is the weather. Oh, look at that. Now we're giving you our weather reports as well.
Wow. This show literally is covering everything. I love it.
Does it.
Not only the spread, but weather.
Well, this is definitely going to be a factor in it. But if you're looking at it, nothing but sunshine, a little bit on the chillier side. Doesn't look like there's a whole lot of wind.
As long as there's snow.
This is basically a summer game for the Blue Bombers, right? So they haven't seen they haven't seen weather this nice since August. For them, the weather's not going to play a factor in it, but we are still going to roll with the under on this game as the Alouettes and Blue Bombers are slated at 47.5. Sorry, Milt, 55-50. That's a little aggressive, especially for these two defenses. I was on the fence about this, but Griff, you've swayed us otherwise. Why?
Well, if you look at Montreal from last weekend, the only reason the over hit was because of the 2 defensive touchdowns. So you take those 2 defensive touchdowns out of the equation, 38 points aren't scored, 24 points are scored. The other reason for this as well is not only has Montreal exploded last week, but Winnipeg as well. They've been a team that I'm going to look it up quickly on the fly, but they haven't hit a whole lot of overs as of late. They're more of a team that, they play defense. Like even if you look last week, it was 24
they slowed the game down.
Yeah, they slowed the game down. It was 24-13. And even to going back to some of their more recent games towards the end of the year. Okay, 36-13 is an outlier. Calgary's bad. Okay, never mind. They've hit the over quite a bit recently, but you know what? They're playing. Yeah.
So wait, are we backtracking here? What's going on?
No, we're not. But the fun fact is, the last time they played at Montreal, it was only a 17-3 kind of football game. So I still like this under just because I feel like everyone's going to expect Montreal to come out with fireworks, but I don't see Montreal putting up 38 points again. I see Montreal putting up, 17-20, and then I see Winnipeg putting up another same sort of region. So we could easily get like a 24-7 football game, or 24-17, excuse me, or even, you know what's another fun score to put in there as well? Like a 31-14 game if it's a real blowout, just to make us sweat a little bit. But ultimately, too, this game's going to end in regulation at 24-24, and everyone in this video is going to say, "Never let this guy bet on shows again. Never let this guy bet on. Never let this guy come back on down by 2 ever again." It's going to go into overtime, because the last time I bet a Bombers under, it went there. It backfired because it was Labor Day. But you know what? It did.
Well, I mean, that's the first. Like, this is the first time that we've ever gone with the under on this show when it comes to the CFL, obviously. But hey, you know what? I like it. I like it. I kind of want to go with the over, just because I want to experience like a fun game. I don't want it to be a grinded out game. I do want it to be close. I do like the Alouettes covering that spread. I do think the Bombers are going to ultimately win, but I really like betting the under here. It's not fun for me, but it makes the most sense. It's just that it's going to be a grinded out game. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know. What do you think, Jesse? Do you like the under on this?
Yeah, I love it.
And let's do it. Let's fucking do it. There, I like it. I love it. And it's at -110 odds, available over on Bodog. Again, scan that QR code. Links are galore, whether you're watching this on YouTube or listening to this on your favorite podcast streaming network. Other than that, no more other announcements other than the final week to grab your tickets for the London Comedy Festival. Scan that QR code as well. We are a week away. Yeah, nice little plug in there at the end, bringing in some of the greatest Canadian comics from across the country down to Forest City. A bunch of amazing shows that are going on at multiple different breweries, and the big show going down at Highland Cinema, also at the London Music Hall as well. My show actually sold out, so that's actually I don't need to plug that anymore. But there's a lot of other amazing opportunities to go watch comedy across the city. That is from November 23rd to 25th. Other than that, boys, excited. I'm on the mend. I'm gonna go do a shot of turmeric and fucking apple cider vinegar right now. I'm gonna get all of my beauty sleep. It's gonna be a hell of a weekend, and totally privileged to be able to do it with each and every one of you guys.
Yeah,
Can't
same,
wait.
man.
Let's do it. But for Josh, Elijah, Birdman, and our wonderful guest, Crier Media's own Griff from YWC Football Talk, thanks so much for jumping on the show, my man. Really do appreciate it.
Everyone loves a good collaboration.